You started recording. Beautiful.
Okay, good evening everyone, and thanks for joining us for the online member induction. Tonight we'll be running the flood rescue awareness, which you'd normally be doing at your unit, but with the current restrictions, we're going to run through this online tonight. We've got Craig Ronan in the room again, and our model, David Brenkin, that will be modelling.
Always known as Delvine Delaney.
And we've also got Mark Darwin from training in the room tonight. So wealth of knowledge here, so we'll kick off. So for tonight's session outcomes, you'll be able to have you'll have an understanding of helping someone in trapped rising floodwaters, practical application of putting on a life jacket, and being able to have an understanding of how to throw a rescue tube and also a throw bag. So the key learning points for tonight is how to fit and wear a life jacket, the importance of checking team members' life jackets, how to identify zones, how to throw a rescue tube and throw bag, hand signals, and defensive self-rescue. So I'm just going to hand across to Craig Ronan, who will once again just talk about that number one law, being safety for yourself before others. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Kerry. The reason we're doing this training tonight is because floodwater can be very, very dangerous. As we've seen the last couple of days, there has been a few flood rescues. Remember, I'm safe. Remember, I'm safe. You've got to be safe. And before you go out in the field, remember you take 5. When you go to a scene of a flood rescue, you should be doing a take 5 before you actually do anything, because you don't want to put yourself at risk. So thank you, Kerry. Don't forget the emergency app. You can put this on your iPhone or your Android phone, and it actually is very good. It directly dials to the emergency services, and it gives you lats and longs. If you don't know where you are, if you don't know the area, you can actually provide the lat long to the emergency service, and they know where to respond to. So it's a very, very great app. If you haven't got it on your phone, it's free. Put it on your phone now, or after the lesson, please. But it's a great app.
Craig, importantly, if you don't have mobile phone service in the area, you can't actually use the phone bit, but you can still get the lat long if you've got a radio. So that still works. The lat long still works in that app, even if you don't have phone service.
And in backing that, don't forget your radio also. It's got lat long, like we learned last week with our portable radios. Okay. And of course, safe hold. Don't forget safe hold. If you have an incident, have an accident, you see a hazard, it's dangerous, or you have a near miss, don't forget to ring the safe hold number and report it. It's very important. We capture that information so we can modify our training and modify the way we do our business to make you even safer. Right, can anybody tell me out there in unit land some of the hazards of floodwater? And it's up on the screen. So what are some of the hazards of floodwater?
It's contaminated.
With what?
Crap.
Crap, nice way of putting it. Yep. You've got sewage and chemicals and other dangerous goods that can be in the water, can't they?
And dead animals, snakes, spiders.
Dead livestock, all sorts of stuff. Wonderful stuff. Any other hazards of floodwaters pose?
Floating objects like trees and drums, tanks, cars.
That's right. We can see the stuff on the top of the floodwater, but we can't see what's underneath, can we? There could have been something swept down that we can't see that we might get trapped in, or something else. What's the biggest hazard with floodwater though? All the hazards are correct. What's the biggest hazard with floodwater? Anybody want to have a guess? Sorry?
The speed of it.
Yes. In a nice river, it can be a nice steady flow. In some rivers and creeks, we know it flows very fast. I think the NRMA have done some scientific research. Fast flowing water at 10 centimetres can actually sweep a vehicle away from a causeway or off the road. So water can be very, very fast and very dangerous, and that's why it is so dangerous. Not to mention all the other stuff we've talked about, the chemicals and everything else that it has inside it. Okay, so one of the reasons we're doing this is safety is our number one priority. We have to keep our rescue people safe, or people responding safe. We don't want to end up being rescued ourselves. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk what is a hot zone, what is a warm zone, and what is a cold zone. Similar to road crash rescue and general land rescue, we have, you see that nice little photo? You can see in the middle there with the horse float, safety opposite the triage area. That's what we call the hot zone. That's where all the activity is taking place. Around that, we have the warm zone, where the non-essential personnel are there. And then around that, we have the cold zone. So everyone comfortable with the concept of warm, hot, or cold?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How does that relate to flood rescue? Well, it's very simple. We have our person in the water, as per the slide you're seeing on the screen. That's called the hot zone. The actual body of water is the hot zone. From the edge of the water, 3 metres back, is called the warm zone, and that's where the rescue personnel are. And past the 3 metres is called the cold zone, which is out of danger. So just remember, the hot zone is the water itself, and we should be going into the hot zone. We don't want to end up like that victim there that is stuck in the water that needs rescuing. So that's hot, warm, and cold. Remember, it's 3 metres from the edge of the water back, and then we go into the cold zone. So that's our safe working areas. Everyone comfortable with that concept?
Yep.
All right. And it's essential. And it's essential that you notice everyone in the warm zone is wearing life jackets. It's essential that everyone in that warm zone actually complies with the rules of WHS and wears a life jacket. We'll talk about life jackets in a moment. So
Craig, if this was happening in real life, who actually sets up the zones? Like you wouldn't be measuring out 3 metres, would you? Would be the team leader?
Yeah, the team leader would normally, or the senior rescue operator on site would make a judgment of where the hot zone's pretty clear, roughly measure 3 metres and say, okay, past that's the cold zone, this is the warm zone. They'd make that very clear to people, and only the essential people, as per that previous slide, would be in the warm zone. The media, the public, non-essential rescue personnel, etc., would be in the cold zone, well and truly out of danger. All right. Okay. So we're going to talk about wearing a life jacket. So when should you wear a life jacket, or a PFD, a personal flotation device, as it's sometimes called? When should you wear one?
When you're in the warm or hot zone, obviously.
Yep. Well, yeah, exactly. If you're in the warm zone, actually,
I'll go back to the zone.
Yeah, if you're in the warm zone, you should not be in the warm zone unless you've got a life jacket on, full stop. And what we're teaching you tonight with flood rescue awareness is you don't go in the hot zone at all. We're not to enter the water under any circumstance in this situation. And we've got some tools here that we'll show you later that we use to throw to the person in the water. So we don't go in the hot zone, and we only go into the warm zone unless we've got a life jacket on. Is that clear?
Yep. Yeah.
The SES has PFDs or life jackets. They're all different sizes, and we've got them, and there should be in our trucks, in our rescue trucks and vehicles. If they're not, they're obviously at the unit headquarters, but they are available for people to put on when they need to. So move forward to the slide, Kerry. So let's get David up here, our new volunteer. And David's going to put the life jacket on. Come on. It might be a bit of a tight fit.
I'll breathe in.
Oh, that's so tight. Well, that's an extra large. That's the biggest one I could find, to be honest.
That's all right.
Okay. So you see the life
You may
jacket.
actually have to change the video over for him, Kerry.
Oh, sorry, hang on.
It's good. You can't see a fat man in a skinny man's life jacket.
Oh, it'd be like a girdle, won't it?
Hang on, can you see it there? I'm just, sorry.
You
Yeah,
already see it now?
you can see that all right.
Okay. David's going to expand the life jacket. Here's one we prepared earlier.
Suggesting, David?
Oh, no, I'm just about
The life jackets.
And this is a diet test.
No, it's actually quite.
It's probably quite but that's the biggest one I could find. I went through Auckland today.
And again, this would be part
I've got the
of
COVID
your operational readiness with what we have, that you'll go through and make sure that all members could try on their PFD to make
Now,
sure it does.
better make sure that it's tight, it's comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
Notice that he has a little buckle at the front he has to do up.
And also, Kerry, what it is it's also a great training activity for people to do, to learn how to put them on, how to adjust them.
Yeah.
So that at any case
There are
they need
some
them.
straps that have to
they're
go
right to
through
go.
the crotch. I'm not going to.
Keep your hands away from that.
I'm not touching there because I'll get put on a charge or something. So you've got
And
two straps there that go through the crotch on the left and right side to hold the life jacket down, and they should be tightened. And obviously when he's got the jacket on, then we go through and tighten these other straps.
You don't tighten some of them too much.
No, don't. Come on, Frank.
No, he's not that bad.
Come on.
He's not bad. I'll
It's
tell
the
you what,
COVID spread.
he loses them off.
Anyway.
And how does that feel, David? Is that comfortable?
Well, the thing I like is the leg straps stop it riding up. And we know sometimes when we've got a life jacket on and you're in the water, the worst feeling is having it come up around your neck and nearly choking you. So that's what these two straps here are designed to do.
Yep. And we've got a little buckle there at the front.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So when you're putting your life jacket on, when you put one on, get your buddy to check that you've got all the bits done up. It's nice and tight. It's not restrictive, but it's tight.
Yep. It's fair.
And it's not going to move on you in the water.
No, it's certainly not going to move.
And how does that feel? Comfortable?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So there's our life jacket.
Hang on, before we move, what are all those pockets for?
Just to look intelligent, Kerry.
Yeah.
Is there nothing in
No, there's a whistle in here, which is, so a whistle in one pocket, and I believe the ones at our unit,
There's no
will have a little light that comes on.
yeah. There's no light in there, unfortunately. There's no you'll probably carry your personal locating beacon in one of the pockets.
In this pocket, we've got a lollipop wrapper and what would have been a wrapper to a personal location device.
So good operational readiness, and there's more lollipop wrappers in there actually. What the hell's been at these?
Obviously, someone who likes lollies.
So as with the whistle, as you'll learn, that can either be in case you happen to fall into the water to alert people that you're there, but it also is a good device to yell out to someone that you're actually attempting to assist, just to let them know that you're there. Now, we just talked about a personal locating beacon.
Yep.
Can we just, for the people that have no clue, can you just give a bit of what is that, Craig?
Well, each SES vehicle or life jacket or vehicle should have a personal locating beacon, a PLB. And it's a little yellow box. We haven't got one here anymore. We used to have them. And a little yellow box, it sits in the pockets of these things. If you're out in the bush, if you're using the PLB for a land search or you're in a flood rescue situation and you get stuck, you press the beacon, it sets it off, it goes to Canberra, Australian Maritime Search and Rescue. They contact the local police and then they come rescue looking for you. It's basically a little device to say where you are, a bit like the duress button on the radios. It actually tells people where you are, your location, so you can be rescued. A lot of our teams use them when they go on bush searches. If you go to the bush in a search, each team has one. So if something happens to a team member or you're not sure and you get lost, you activate it and it's easy to find you. So have a look back in your unit for the personal locating beacon, a PLB, the yellow in colour. It's very interesting because a couple of years ago, there was one in a Sydney vehicle that somebody stole one of the vehicles in the Liverpool unit and they set off a PLB and the police found them very quickly and arrested them. So they worked quite well even with that. So That's your PLB, but there's your life jacket.
Very snug.
So if you're going to be in the warm zone, you need to have that on. Why do we need to have it on? What's the point of wearing a life jacket?
It'll save your life if you fall in.
Yeah, exactly.
Prevention, though, is it obviously? Prevention.
But you're not going to fall in, are you? Hopefully you're not going to go near that close to the water where you're going to slip. But if you do slip and you end up with the drink, at least you've got that to keep you afloat.
So when we're talking about, because another important thing is to ensure that your teammate or team member has done this correctly. So what would be the procedure? You get the call out, you arrive at the scene, you pop it on, and then you have a buddy, and you get them to just check to make sure everything's secure.
Yeah, work in pairs with this. As a scenario, one night you might want to get these together in the truck, take the truck out somewhere, pretend you're near a creek, and actually make a little exercise up and say, okay, there's someone over there trapped in the water. Let's do a rescue exercise and put the stuff on and check and actually do a practical component to it.
And that's really important, as we just touched on, Mark and I before we started putting it on. For operational readiness, you need to make sure that all your members, but you as an individual personally, that you have a PFD that is that will fit and that you know what size you're going to be. Because the last thing you want to do is get out to potentially where you may be required to be in a warm zone and not be able to assist because you don't have a PFD that will fit you. And again, as Craig was saying, if you're going out and you do as a practice session, that's really good because time is the essence. And you're not always going to be in a lit building like this is, where you can actually see the straps. So understanding of where those straps are and fitting in is secure is really important too.
And if you notice your PFD is damaged, what do? You find a piece of damaged equipment.
Report it.
Report it. Tell the unit commander, your team leader, and get somebody from zone ASAP and get it replaced. It's part of operational readiness. You need this stuff 24/7, especially now that it's raining and we've got a wet catchments. We never know when we're going to have people stuck in rivers or creeks, do we? Or storm water drains even after heavy rain. So is everyone okay with a life jacket or a PFD?
Yep.
So some homework is go back to your unit, have a look at what you've got, get them out, play with them, make sure they're not damaged. Okay, the second activity we're going to talk, a bit of rescue equipment we're going to talk about tonight is called a rescue tube or a torpedo, depends what school you went to. It's like maroon and maroon. It's called a rescue tube in the literature, but it's also called a torpedo. And what do you think the over that's for? Why do we have these nice big yellow thing like a banana? Well, what do you think we have that for? What's the use?
So getting into the drink, you get some.
Wraps around you.
Yep.
Wraps on the arms, doesn't it?
Hopefully what we can do, and this one hasn't got enough rope on it, but hopefully we can throw that in the water, the person catches it. I heard somebody say put it over their arms like that and they could actually hang on. It keeps them afloat, doesn't it? Until we're able to catch the person downstream somehow. Is that okay how that works? So we throw it to the person, they catch it, we try to get them to do that, or if they're hanging on to it, it keeps them afloat, doesn't it? And if we've got a long enough line, we can actually use it to pull the person back across the current. Everyone okay with that?
What happens if they're further away than the length of the line on that thing?
Well,
Good question.
good question. And we also have, also has a thing called a throw bag. And the throw bag has got 25 metres of rope in it. And what you do, look at our faithful assistant here. Just want to demonstrate how we throw the throw
And
bag.
just make a note that when you're practicing throwing and aiming using either the rescue tube or the throw bag, it's important to put your PFD on, because how you move and what you can do without it, and then when you are restricted by it will differ.
Do you want me to put it back on?
Oh, it's up to you.
If
You
you,
feel comfortable, yeah.
and just to reinforce that, if you're in a position where you've got a torpedo or a rescue tube and a throw bag in your hand, if you're not wearing a PFD, you shouldn't be. You only get this equipment when you've kitted up with your PFD. Okay, so our friend here.
So we're looking.
Adriana.
Yeah, it's better looking. Yeah, crash test on
Oh, stop it. Performance pressure.
How, should we put this stopwatch on it?
And what you do, what we do for the practical assessment for this is you've actually got to be able to throw the throw bag more than 10 metres. So what a lot of units do, they measure 10 metres, they put an auto bin at the other end, take the lid off it, and they throw the throw bag, and when it goes into the auto bin, it's a pretty good shot. That's how some units do it.
But for the purpose of job ready, there's not an actual assessment. As long as you are familiar with the piece of equipment, and you, when you go back to your unit, please like just have a muck around, pop your PFD on, and try throwing.
So there's two ways of throwing this too, isn't it?
Throw back.
So you can either throw it over your shoulder.
Yep.
Or there's some people like to throw it under arm. I will destroy the phone system while we're at it. Oh my gosh. All right.
Just send Joss a message, we'll just drag it. All right.
There are two different ways of
David's
throwing.
quite right.
Yeah. And it's personal preference.
Yep.
Whether you throw it underarm or launch it like a javelin.
But the aim of it is you should be aiming at the person in the water, because that's the person you've got to hit. Not hit, but get the object placed to it so they can grab it.
Yep.
Yes, Frank, hit's not a good word. You don't want to hit the person, not
And then we've got the throw bag.
I've got the throw bag.
I'll throw it to Craig, actually. Craig, if you want to.
Just don't hit no.
No.
Just have the phone system, that's all.
So just explain what you're doing, David. That's it.
So I'm grabbing one hand, the end of the line in one hand, and it's designed for the line to unravel. So Craig comes back this way. He's now got the other end.
It's got a nice big
Loop on it for him to hold on to.
for me to hang on to. And that's 25 metres of rope on that.
So technically, if I missed it, I could hold this end again, with all this rope in my hand, drag it back in, and still have enough to throw.
Got to go, guys. I've got to deal with a job.
Righto, Frank.
Right, Frank. So that's basically very quickly how a throw bag is used. And obviously when you're finished, you dry the rope out, undo it, and you tuck all the rope back in there so it can be released next time before we pack that up later.
What's the importance of drying the rope?
Somebody tell me from the audience, why do we think we need to look after the rope and dry the rope?
So it doesn't perish.
Sorry?
So it doesn't perish. So it protects
Exactly.
the rope.
What happens with wet material once you put it away somewhere and you wrap it up?
Mouldy.
Exactly, and mouldy and yucky. It's like our ropes through our roof safety kits are any piece of rope we use. Once we use it, take it out, dry it, and actually it wouldn't hurt just to check it. Is it okay? Is it in good nick? And just before you put it back in the bag, so you know that it's safe to use next time.
And you can see how Dave is just popping that back in, because the other thing you want to make sure is that it's not going to knot up, because you wouldn't want to be throwing that out to assist somebody and the 25 metre rope's only 12.
So I'm coiling it up as I put it in.
Yeah, so it's
All right.
okay. So we might
So everyone comfortable with the torpedo, rescue tube and the throw bag?
so we'll go. I'll just do the little video.
The best way is to get back, when you've got some time, get this gear out of your unit, have a look at it, make sure it's all nice and new, clean and tidy, and is ready to be used. If it's damaged, let somebody know so we can replace it.
Okay, so we're just going to show, we didn't actually have any with the SES, but we found a little tube a little clip on YouTube, which we're going to share tonight.
So just don't share it quickly.
Okay.
Sorry guys, there's a technical thing, so just don't.
Just learning how to do this. So
Share.
share.
Yeah.
Oh.
Include just the audio.
G'day everyone, Simon here from Aquabatics Calgary, and welcome to our quick reference river safety series.
Moment.
In these videos we're going to cover key safety skills and touch on the critical points to execute safe and efficient rescue.
Oh, that's annoying. I don't have to say it again, do I?
Sentence to share screen.
Yep, start, and then you go there.
For context, we assume you know what a throw bag is, what it's used for, and basically know how to throw one. We're going to break this throw bagging tutorial into the setup, application, and then close out with a few key points. When setting up to throw bag, you may want to consider the following things: a safe and effective location. You need to have good footing, somewhere that's useful to a potential swimmer, both that it's near the feature they're likely to swim out of, and if they grab the bag from a rescuer, it improves their situation.
Twice. It's running twice.
And also, is the location appropriate for a dynamic or static?
Yeah. That's
Now I have to share it again.
no, you're right. Just a play. Sorry guys.
G'day everyone, Simon here from Aquabatics Calgary, and welcome to our quick reference river safety series. In these videos we're going to cover key safety skills and touch on the critical points to execute safe and efficient rescues. In this episode we're looking at throw bagging. We don't have time to go over all the nuances in this video, so for context we assume you know what a throw bag is, what it's used for, and basically know how to throw one. We're going to break this throw bagging tutorial into the setup, application, and then close out with a few key points. When setting up to throw bag, you may want to consider the following things: a safe and effective location. You need to have good footing, somewhere that's useful to a potential swimmer, both that it's near the feature they're likely to swim out of, and if they grab the bag from a rescuer, it improves their situation. And also, is the location appropriate for a dynamic or static belay? Once you've dialed in a safe and effective location, you're now likely playing the waiting game for your paddling partner to run the rapid. Stay alert at this point, communicate through the group, and be ready if anything goes down. For the application part, your buddy swims and it's go time. We break the actual rescue into 4 key communication pieces. Get the swimmer's attention. Shout their name. Blow your whistle. Try your best to make eye contact. Tell the swimmer you're going to throw the bag. Motion to them you're going to throw. Or yell rope really bloody loudly. If they know it's coming, they will likely look for it. Throw the bag to and through the swimmer. Once you've thrown the rope, tell the swimmer to grab it. This seems silly, but swimming can be very disorienting. If you miss with the throw, yell, signal, whistle, whatever it takes to let the swimmer know where the rope is and how to get to it. Personally, I tell people to hold on tight once they grab the rope. They're likely not going to hear it, but it helps me close out this process. It also lets an experienced paddler know that they're about to have a load of tension come onto the rope. They're going to go underwater and it's going to suck for a little while. But if the rescuer has done their job properly, not letting go is a much better option. So that's the basic setup and communication process for executing a safe and successful throw bag rescue. A few key points to help you practice and to be a sniper with a throw bag are: practice on dry land without letting the rope come out of the bag. Get accurate with it. Practice full rescues in safe locations on your local river. Many paddlers don't rehearse this skill, and like any other boating skill, without practice, we risk getting rusty. Be familiar with when to use a static belay or a dynamic belay. You can see the video listed above for more details on this. The bag is always on the downstream side. Minimal extra rope in your system. Hold two ends of the rope together in front of your waist. Resist the urge to pull in the slack, as this can act as a human slingshot once tension comes on. Never wrap the rope around any appendage. This goes for rescuers and rescuees. If working with ropes around the river, always have a knife on you that's easily accessible in case you need to cut away from a tensioned rope. So that's it, our quick reference guide to throw bagging. It's a skill you hopefully don't have to use regularly, but practice and having a dialed process will hopefully ensure a successful outcome if you do need to use it. We hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get access.
Okay, so just whilst we don't have canoes or paddling, the idea was just to give you a bit of an understanding of how, like, the content is still good and covers off what's in our manuals in the sense of throwing and yelling to alert the person that you're trying to rescue or provide assistance.
So, if you're David and you're about to throw the throw bag, you're in the hot zone, how far away from the edge of the bank are you going to be standing? Yeah, but how far from the edge of the bank? No.
Far enough not to fall in.
About a metre.
Oh.
Okay. You should not be standing right on the edge of the bank. Why not? What happens?
Could be undercut.
Thank you. About a metre back in the warm zone, and you throw it as far as you can. You don't get too close to the bank, because the person might actually grab the rope and pull you in too if you're too close to the bank. So remember, for stability, stay about a metre away from the edge, so you've got stability, so you can hang on, so you don't get pulled in too. So is everyone comfortable with the throw bag? The best way to get out there to do this is this. You'll have to speak up. Sorry.
Yeah,
You're
we're comfortable. Yeah, got it.
The best way is to go set up in a car park or in front of the unit headquarters on the driveway, pretend you've got a river and practice that way. That's the best way to do it. The hot zone, your warm zone, your cold zone, and just practice. Make sure you've got all your gear on. And if you get really good and you've got a really small creek or river that you want to practice in, you're allowed to practice in the water, but obviously do a risk assessment first. Yeah, do your take 5 and make sure it's safe. Hopefully don't do it in a flood situation, just do it when it's normally flowing. But it's a good way, if you get really competent, it's a good way to practice it. All right, so quickly some hand signals you need to learn. And this material is pretty straightforward. David's going to demonstrate, are you okay? So if you see that hand signal,
and pointing at the person that you're asking, and hand on the head. Are you okay?
Okay, so if you're in the water, or if you're a member of the crew and David does that, that's what he means. So what would the answer be? Okay, if you're okay.
Just hand on the head.
Yep.
I am okay.
And if it's an emergency,
that's it, Graham. It's better on the head.
If it's an emergency,
either one hand, like you're in the surf, which is very well known amongst surf lifesavers, or if you can, 2 hands to get maximum attention.
And the 2 hands like that always mean help. I'm in trouble anyway, so it's pretty good.
Yep.
Okay, and there's a simple another one that means stop.
The aeroplane.
Yep. So there's some very basic hand signals you use when you're doing basic flood rescue like that. They're really, really easy to remember, and you need to practice them. Get the team out there and practice them in the field so you know how it works.
So if I was in a rescue and if someone was floating by, or actually it's probably more for spotters up and down the bank, perhaps even, be pointing them and say, are you okay? And they would go, yes, okay, or no, we've got a problem, emergency.
It's important to point out that as a new member, you always work under supervision. So you're not going to be expected to get out there in the field and know this stuff off by heart. It's good if you can, but you're always working under experienced operators who know what to do if something happens.
Yeah, I've only just joined the Bathurst unit as a volunteer, and we went through this only 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I'm very new at this as well. I've not used it in a real life situation yet.
Now, part of what we want to cover tonight, we're nearly finished. We want to talk about a thing called self-rescue. If you happen to end up in the water yourself, you've got your life jacket on, your PFD, and you actually somehow or other you get thrown into the water. What do you think we do? Besides yell for help. Any ideas?
Blow your whistle.
Yeah.
Blow your whistle?
Yep.
There's something you can do while you're in the water, and it's called be in the defensive position. Okay? Defensive position means you put your flow in, the water's going this way.
The water's going this way.
So you would.
That's all right. Oh my gosh. That's okay.
So
feet down, arms in the air, letting everything go.
That's exactly right.
With the water.
And so your feet first. You follow the flow, feet first. Why would you go head first?
So you don't hit
In case there's anything underneath the water.
Yep, exactly.
So your legs become like a shock absorber too. If
exactly.
you do hit anything,
and you can use your hand and your feet to actually fend off obstacles, can't you?
Yeah.
And potentially, if you're in the defensive position and there is a big branch there, you can actually use your arms to grab onto it, and then you're in a stationary position and somebody can try to rescue from that position. So it helps. But remember, the defensive position is always feet first. You're going with the flow, feet first.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're watching where you're going, hopefully. And what you could also do is do backstroke at an angle, trying to make your way to shore at the same time. Sometimes depending on how fast the flow is, sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. But you should be trying to do that if you can. And as we said, looking downstream, using your feet and your hands to fend off obstacles, and trying to do arms are doing backstroking, trying to control the direction and steer you towards the bank. A note here is you never stand up in moving water. Why don't you stand up in moving water?
You don't know what's underneath.
Yep. What's another reason you don't stand up in moving water?
You might not be able
You're
to
allowed
stand
to
up.
target.
It'll knock you off your feet. It's very, very powerful water. And I hope you all get the opportunity to go to Penrith, Whitewater Stadium to do some Swiftwater stuff. And Mark will talk about that in the future, what you can do. But the pressure of water is incredible. If 2 metres of water at this place, this flights are crappy at how fast and the speed of it is dangerous. And people don't realise how dangerous floodwater can be. And that's the message from the SES. That's why we encourage people not to go into it or drive through it or walk through it, because it's so dangerous. So don't try to stand up in it, because you won't stand up in it. You'll get swept under. We've talked about the dangers of floodwater, so we understand why the floodwater is so dangerous. So that's basically it, guys. We've gone through all our theory. Okay. Kerry, do you want to wrap up the reinforce what we've done?
To wrap up, and then we're just also going to cut across to Mark, who will explain the learning pathways.
And we'll answer any questions when we're finished.
Yeah.
If you have any questions.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Let's see how successful this will be this time. Okay, so just to rehash, we've learned about the flood rescue zone, so being cold, warm, and hot. How to put on a life jacket and the importance of checking the life jacket of your team members. We've learned how to for a demonstration of how to throw a rescue tube and throw bag. And this is just taken out of one of the training guides that I've had, just so they get a bit of an understanding of that overthrow. This will also be sent out to you. So we've got the flood rescue hand signals. So just the discussion points, you must give the same signal back to the person trying to relay a message. This is an acknowledgement that you understand the message. If you don't understand the message, to keep your arms low, palms towards the person giving this signal. Now, it's important to remember that no one will expect you to go out and know all this. While you're going through your induction as a probationary member, you'll always be under supervision and have support of somebody. The self-rescue defence. So again, the key points which we went over tonight. If you happen to fall into the water, then you float on your back, feet pointed downstream, head looking into the direction you're going, and use your hands and feet to fend off any obstacles. Backstroke at an angle against the current to make your way to the shore. So again, this is just taken from one of the training guides, and as Craig said, never stand up or attempt to stand up in moving water. Okay, so I'm going to hand it across to Mark just to talk about, if you want to learn more about flood awareness, what are the training pathways?
Right. Thanks, Kerry. Hi all. So obviously tonight was about flood rescue awareness. It's the basics of what we do in terms of flood water near and around flood water. What's next? So there's a couple of courses that you can do as part of your training pathway. The first one is about what we call land-based flood rescue operator. That's where you get the opportunity to actually learn more about throwing the torpedoes or the throw bags. It's actually, you get a qualification out of that. There are certain prerequisites that you need to meet. That will be in the training resource kits that are currently on EOS. So that's the first one. And so land-based flood rescue is designed about learning how to rescue someone from the land and only on the land. Second one that you can do once you've done that is what we call on-water flood rescue. That's actually rescuing someone from a boat. So you actually learn how to be involved in that, and you get a part of your boat operator qualification as well. So finally is what we call in-water flood rescue, and that's where you actually learn to actually get into the water, to learn to go and rescue someone from that. It's quite specific. It's about a 3-day course normally. Normally done at Penrith or Manly Hydraulics is where we also do that course as well too. And you might hear the terminology for some of the people that have been around. That's what we call our level 3 or our swift water technicians. And you might see them on the news. You probably might have seen them where they're all in their blue wetsuits. They are our in-water flood rescue operators. So there's something that you can sort of aim for if you want to. There's no requirement to do any of them. You might want to do all 3 of them. That's really up to yourself, and that's that conversation you'll need to have with your unit training coordinator and or your unit commander and decide what best fits your unit. It'll certainly be based around what are the needs of the unit and whether it's considered to be sort of part of maintaining your operational readiness for those units. Any questions? All right. There's no. Kerry, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. And we've also got some training has some really great brochures about with learning pathways. So I'll attach them in the link as well, just so.
Yeah. So we're coming out, and what we're actually doing is we're coming out with shortly is an actual guide. And look, I don't know how well you can see how well.
That's right to email it out now, isn't it?
I'll double check, but what we've actually produced is a fairly simple diagram of what's required, and what qualifications you get out of doing the 3 different courses.
Yeah. So if I can't if it's not available for distribution at the moment, I'll get Mark to send that out afterwards. But if I can, I'll link it with all the rest of the stuff for tonight.
I need that, please.
It's really good. I actually received it last week, and I said it's brilliant. Was it volunteer?
A member from our Orange City unit who actually produced that, and he was just doing it for. Story was that he was actually just doing it for the what we call the Central West Command area. He sent it to me for review. I sent it on to the training team, my manager, and it's actually gone statewide. It's that good. We thought it was a great piece of work that we're actually going to send out across the state.
And it's like a lot of the things coming from volunteers. I know myself in my position, you know, you guys are doing some fantastic work out there. So if you want to share anything or have some ideas, particularly new members, you know, they're a fresh set of eyes, and often we'll be able to pick up something or that we're not quite doing well, or that's not maybe not as easy to understand or accessible as what it should be. So I just want to say a big thank you again to Craig Ronan and David Rankin for participating tonight or facilitating, and to Mark Dallin for being here tonight and supporting our online session. If there's no other questions, we can close up for tonight.
No, all good. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Everyone have a lovely night.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Stay
Thank you.
dry.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah.
No.
Night.
Good way to do education.
Night, John. Bye.
And stop the clock.